All right, guys, bow season kicks off this Saturday in Tennessee. I've been spending the last week trying to get all my stuff together. And today I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit about what I'm going to be working with this year, from my mobile setup to hanging some of my bow stands that I'm going to be hunting the next few days. But to start off, last year I really started using these Helium Sticks. They're very convenient because they kind of fold up, kind of compact. They can stick to your stand. It's easy to take them out, strap them to a tree. They're really lightweight. This is all aluminum. The only real problem I had with them was these little connector buttons. They stuck together when they were brand new, and I opened them up when it was freezing cold outside, and I had to break them to get them loose. So I'm not a big fan of these. Luckily enough, they fit together without it just fine. As long as you've got it strapped to your stand tight, they don't make any noise. But I will be removing these anyways. I'm not using them, and it's just adding extra weight. But these are really great. They go on the tree really quick. There's tons of videos out there online about these, but I do really enjoy these. They make climbing real easy. The only thing I would definitely say is if you're not wearing gloves and your hands are really cold, it doesn't appear that sharp, and it's not, but when your hands are cold, it's kind of not a very good thing to grip. But outside of that, these work great. What I ordered different this year was the Helium Steps. And right out of the box, you get 4 of these. They're really lightweight. They don't weigh anything. It's all aluminum. But they give you 4 steps and 1 strap. Kind of had a problem with that. You can't strap all of them on with 1 strap unless they're all in the same spot, which would be kind of pointless, right? So what I did is I went on a website called strapworks.com. No, they're not a sponsor. I just went on there because you can custom order whatever you want. And so I ordered 65-inch long pull straps like this with this buckle camo. So I got the color that I wanted with the buckles that I wanted. So I got the size and everything that I like. And then to strap these on, you literally just run it through here, run around the tree, cinch it down, and boom, you got a step. And so each box comes with 4. I bought 2 boxes. I got 8 steps. I'm not going to get very high in the tree, but it works good to pack in light. So to put on one of these Helium Steps is real simple. You just wrap it through the step itself like this, put it in these pull straps, put the step where you want it, and yank, and get this thing as tight as you can. And then it's not going to be able to move very much, especially your lower steps where you can really yank on it like that. And if you're looking for a cheap alternative, I know these Helium products with this high quality aluminum products, this stuff is pretty expensive when you start buying these, especially to get any number of them. You could do the same thing with a wooden block. This is a trick my dad showed me as I was a kid. You just basically take a 2x4, I don't know, that's probably 6-7 inches, and just drill a little hole through it, pull the ratchet strap through, or your pull strap through. You're gonna do this one just the same. I got my strap twisted on this one, but it ultimately works the same way. So pull your block around and then cinch this down, and now you've only got, well, a little less than 2 inches to step on, versus this will cover almost your whole boot. But I mean, you can just cut some 2x4s and do this. We use this growing up. Dad used to make a bunch of these. But you could take these same little straps, you could take a 6-foot 2x4, and you can get 12 steps out of one board. Probably ought to use treated boards, but just the same. I mean, that's a cheap alternative. Whatever a 2x4 costs plus 12 of these, you can get all the way up the tree. And that's technically a lot more stable than this. Like, this gives you more platform for your foot, but this doesn't move as much. So either way, good alternative if you don't want to spend the money. I pack everything in And this is what I'm going to be packing in with this year. I'm a minimalist. I don't like taking, 2 metric tons of stuff with me. So I got this pack primarily because it sets low on my back. I can make it set lower or higher, but I can wear this as a backpack and it doesn't get in the way. It just kind of sets right on top of it. But I can put all my Helium Steps in here, and I can put a Gatorade bottle in here, my camera gear, stuff like that. All of it fits in this little bitty pack because I don't carry much with me. And this is, just in case you were wondering, this is the Alps Outdoor Little Bear, which, they have a big bear that's obviously a little bit bigger than this one, but I don't want to carry that much stuff. I want to minimize the amount of weight that I have. And so my primary hang and hunt stand is this. This is made by Millennium, and it's their micro light hang on stand. And Millennium does a really good job of making their stands really quiet to carry. So literally nothing on here moves. It's really locked down, cinched down tight. And what you do with this thing is it's got one little hand tightened bolt right here. You pull this out, the stand folds up, you put the bolt back in right here, and then it sets down like that and you're ready to go. With Millennium stands, they come with one of two connectors, one with a chain and one without. Let me see what I do with my other one. The one that's the ratchet strap is the one that I prefer because it doesn't weigh as much. So this is what I use if I'm trying to be quiet during bow season or anytime. But if I'm not going to leave the stand in there permanently, I'm going to use this one. And they're really easy to hang on, and this is lightweight too. This is actually heavier than this. And this will make a little bit of noise when you're hooking it up, but not too bad if you're doing it slow enough. But personal preference, I'm not really big on the whole tree saddle thing. I like an actual stand. I want a seat. I want a big platform to stand up, move around on. This is just my preference. There's no right or wrong way. I will say, when this stands on there with the ratchet strap bracket, it's pretty solid, but I still put a ratchet strap down here just in case, because if I'm standing up looking around a tree or something, I don't want it to give. So I still put a ratchet strap on the bottom just to pull these cleats in tight. All right guys, so to hook this Millennium bracket up, you're gonna wrap the chain around the tree. They've got it marked, so here's the top. Simple enough, right? And then you wanna pull this chain as tight as you can. Tighten this down. And then pull out on this and let it come down and cinch down. Now, the beautiful part about Millenniums is once this is on the tree, to hang your deer stand, you literally, all you have to do is come up here and slide that in and let your stand down. And then you're ready to get in. The other bracket is an actual ratchet strap. And the main thing about this one is you want to make sure it's turned the right way to start with. So basically it wraps around the tree like this. And we'll pull it over here in the sun where you can see. So basically you wrap the strap around the tree, pull this pin, slide that in. Here, let me do this backwards here. But once you put that in, tighten this down. The strap is on there fairly well. Pull your ratchet strap around, tighten that up. And I know it's a ratchet strap, it's loud, but you can do it quiet in the woods by just being super slow with it. But this doesn't move, like it's snug. Where this chain one, it has a lot of give in it. So you can see as you're trying to take it off, it moves, which means it's not gonna lock on the tree very well. So the ratchet strap version like this, one, it's lightweight. Two, it's easier to hook on the tree and it's snug. It doesn't have this movement in it, right? Like the chain is good because you can put a lock on it. All you got to do is go over here, boom, you can lock it down, and at least they can't take this. They can still take your stand off of it if you leave it, but if you use the ratchet strap, well, see, if you lay it up on there, it won't just drop down in there. You actually have to work it a little bit, and it helps if when you first put it on there, you don't get it so snug, and then tighten it down. And I mean, even if you don't, because this one sits so snug to the tree, it doesn't move nearly as much. Now I still put a ratchet strap on here, but when you've got this one, there's a whole lot less movement than when you use this chain. So that's a much better way to set this up. Now still, again, put a ratchet strap around here just to be safe, because when you're climbing up your sticks, you know you're going to be off to the side. So the first thing you're going to do is put your foot here, and you're going to be pushing this away. But I mean, you can see, unless you do a lot of jerking, you're not, you know, I'm trying to, and I'm pulling it out from the tree to make it do that, but you know, if you're on it, it's not going anywhere. If I'm going to be sitting all day, I'm going to go to the bigger stand. I usually don't use this till it gets really cold, where I don't mind packing in a little bit of extra weight. Again, this is still lightweight aluminum setup, but it is a little bit heavier and bulkier carrying it through the woods, which when it's cold, it's not that big a deal, but bow season, it can be really hot, and I don't want to sweat when I'm going in there. But they go on and off the tree very easily with this bracket. So you literally just pull it off and you're ready to go. Another great thing about Millennium, and they're not a sponsor of me either, but I just love their stuff. If you're set up in the tree and you just want to stand and you don't want your seat in the way, they got these elastic bands, one on each side, and it'll hold your seat up out of the way. And then if you're carrying the stand, it's got the same little hook, but down here, one on both sides, and it keeps your stand quiet, so it keeps it from clanking around. Like, you really gotta yank it. So when you're wearing it as a backpack, it's not gonna clank around unless you're just jumping, you know? So it fits snug. You can obviously tighten it or loosen it, but it doesn't make noise when you walk unless you hit something with it. But again, this one's pretty lightweight too. It's just a little bit bigger and bulkier. This one literally doesn't weigh anything, right? Very lightweight stuff. That one's the easiest to carry in. It takes 5 seconds to set it up. For bow season this year, I set 2 20-foot stab up sticks that are already in place. One is on the Mississippi River bottoms, one is in the Wolf River bottoms, and I'm going to teeter-totter back and forth between those 2 stands, and then I'll probably do some hanging hunts on some of the cooler days. And then the closer we get to muzzleloader season, I'll really start changing it up. But on the front end, I didn't want to go in making a bunch of noise, and I didn't want to carry all that stuff in and be hot and sweaty when I got there. So I went ahead and got my sticks in place, because I don't mind leaving those. They're older. If I leave them on public, somebody steals them, no big deal. I'm not leaving a Millennium stand hanging up, and I'm not leaving these Helium Sticks in the woods on public land. Somebody will take them. But I will show you the 2 setups, because I just set them up in this last week. I set one of them up this morning, actually. So let me show you those, and then I'll see you back in a minute. All right, guys, I'm out here trying to scout, trying to find somewhere to bow hunt. Bow season opens next weekend. And this early in the year, you can't really narrow deer down on heavily pressured deer to a unique food source, with a few exceptions, because literally everything out there is edible. And this time of year, they don't have to go anywhere for food. They can literally eat anything. There's mass crops in the field. There's soybeans, there's corn, all over the place out here. But one thing you can do is look for these. And this is a persimmon tree. And at least in the Mississippi River bottoms and most of the river bottoms around this area of the country, there are tons of these. And if you can find a little cluster Like this is a small tree. And then here's a big one, and another big one, and another big one, and then that one there. And then another one behind it. And there's a few more scattered out down there. But the main thing I was looking at is the ground under that little tree was not disturbed. This one is lightly disturbed, but not bad. You can tell something's been digging around in here. There's a pretty good trail coming in right here, but it looks like it might be raccoons versus deer. There's no persimmons on the ground. And from best I can tell without binoculars, there's none in the trees. And some of the ones close to the house that are in people's yards are just raining down persimmons. And this one just is not. So I don't know if one or two things happened. Either one, the persimmons dropped early and they've already eaten them, which you would think that the ground would be more destroyed, and it's not. Or two, these trees just didn't make. And from what I've seen, the bigger, older trees tend to produce less than the little bitty trees for whatever that reason is. But these persimmons didn't make, so I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to set a stand. I went ahead and dropped a pin so that I can come back and check them later just in case, but I'm going to write this spot off. But that's what I look for, those trees. And just to touch up real quick, this is how you tell what they are. Look at the bark. It looks like tread on a tire, right? Like some all-terrains. But fruit is more scarce than regular food right now, and this is just like a treat for them. So they'll stop by, eat 3 or 4 that's on the ground, and then move on. All right, let's go find another spot. Let's see. So it's still early in the season yet. The acorns are still green. Some of them are green, but some of them are already dropping that look good. There's not very many because it's early in the year yet, but what makes this spot great is that all the trees out here are poplar trees, willow trees, cottonwood trees, and hackberries, which for the most part are useless to white-tailed deer because there's not much of them that they'll eat. Some of these smaller baby trees, they'll eat some of that, but they'll eat just the browse and little twigs on the end and stuff, but normally not till later in the season. So there's no food. You can see there's no undergrowth because of the canopy. But right here, you've got a few lonely acorns on the ground. This one feels rotten, but normally in the Mississippi River bottoms, there's so many acorns that you can't really narrow it down to a couple of trees. But right here, there's a row of trees. They're all oaks. Whether they were planted that way or what, that's how they're growing. So I know that they're going to funnel this edge, and they're not going to be out in there. If they're feeding, they're going to feed right down through here. And this is an open enough area where I can shoot with a bow. And it's really thick down there, and it's pretty thick down there. Just this one little patch of openness, because I can't trim any of the trees. I can't trim a shooting lane, so I'm kind of stuck like this. But this is a perfect spot, and I've got acorns dropping right under the stand, so I can shoot a deer very easily in close range with a bow. This is perfect. Normally I do hang and hunt, and I'll bring my Helium Sticks or Helium Steps and pack a stand in, but I know I'm going to hunt this stand more than once. So I've got these old stab up sticks. I'm going to put them in a tree right here and leave them, and I'll carry my stand in with me. But I'll show you what it looks like once I'm up in a tree. Alright guys, I got the stick up. This is a 20-foot stab up stick, so you can see I've got plenty of gaps to shoot through, right? When you can't trim limbs, and when you can't trim any tree limbs or any trees to make shooting lanes, this is about as best you can do, which is pretty solid. I mean, I got upwards around 40-yard shots in here. It'd be hard because it's through a bunch of stuff, but 30 yards easy. Alright. I haven't really scouted out in here very much because I hunted in here last year and it was a pretty good spot, and I'm really close to my waypoint, and there's a big double tree where I can climb up this one and set in between them, and the deer won't know I'm there as long as I can shoot out. And there's a lot of canopy right here that looks like it's probably going to be a problem, so we'll just have to see to make sure I can shoot around them. But I'm gonna look around for another tree just in case. The main thing is I want to be hid. I think what I may do, I think I'm just gonna set up right here. I don't want to go put scent out all over there, even though the Wolf River is just through the woods a little ways that way. And I don't want to go up there and put my scent all out there because I'm going to be here this weekend bow hunting. So I think I'm just going to put the stand, or my sticks right here. I'll bring the stand back with me. And then I can see all of this. And then if I can see the deer way out there, maybe I'll move that way for the next hunt. But I don't want to go and bump the deer out. So basically, if you want to know what I'm doing and how I chose this spot, you can't really see very good from here, but those woods out there are really open on the ground level. See all this vegetation down here? From the deer's perspective, it's really thick, right? And the deer are going to travel through this versus that open stuff. Some does and fawns might go through that open stuff, but any older deer, they're going to travel right through this. They're not going to travel in the wide open, which is a lot of what those woods are. The closer you get to the river, there's some big open areas, and I don't want to be out there in the wide open. It may prove to be okay later, but for now, I'm going to stick right here and try to put out as little scent as possible. Alright, so this is where the stand's going to be. I'm going to mount it right here where I'm facing kind of this way, but I'll be able to see out in the open woods in case the deer are walking over there. But I'm really expecting them to come right through this thick stuff. The thick stuff kind of runs that way. I mean, I don't know, it's just a guessing game at this point. But I'm gonna start here. I can see 100 yards in all directions, even with all the foliage from up this high. I'm 20 foot up. But I'm gonna start here and look and see where the deer are walking, and then I can adjust later. So if I hunt this weekend and I see the deer way over there or whatever, I can hunt until whenever I get ready to get down, and I can slip down and I can move a little bit closer. But this will keep me from completely putting scent out everywhere. I'm not really worried about scouting because there's not a whole lot of deer sign in here. I'm more setting the stand for an observation, and I'm making an educated guess that they're going to walk through the thicker stuff, but we'll see how it plays out. But I mean, I've got a really good hole to shoot through right here. I've got some really good holes to shoot through right there, and it's hard to see because I'm attached to the tree, but I could shoot really good back the way I come in. So I've got 3 directions that I don't have to trim a shooting lane, because you're on public land. You can't cut any of the trees, so you kind of gotta find a spot that's already ready already. But I'll see you back here this weekend. All right, so you just saw those 2 setups that I made. The first one was on the edge of a field, and what the basic gist of that setup was, inside the woods and the river bottoms, there's a lot of I guess you'd call it non-productive trees. They're poplar trees, they're willow trees, which they actually will eat the leaves off of young willows, but for the most part, they don't really eat much for the willows. There's no fruit that it bears. Cottonwood trees, hackberries, not a lot of food, and the canopy was so thick there was no undergrowth. But on the edge of the field, it was all oak trees going down the edge. So I'm on the very edge of the tree line, and then it's oak straight down the edge, and then so I could see out in the woods, and there's no food. So if the deer walk, they're going to walk right under me. So I'm probably going to have a straight down shot. So it's probably going to be a little bit tricky, but I can narrow down. If the deer do come through there, they're going to walk along those oaks. I did check, there were a few acorns on the ground. Now, traditionally, this time of year, I don't really concentrate on food sources. If you look around, everything is green. It doesn't matter. I came out here, I'm at my house right now. I put out corn out here just so I could see the deer in the yard and stuff. The deer don't even come to the corn that much here at the house. They will come by it every now and again, but they're not constant. And that's just because they can literally eat everything. So trying to narrow them down to a specific food source in a specific spot is really almost impossible this time of year. But if you do it in combination with a couple of things, like one, we've had a lot of rain, but up and down some parts of the Mississippi River bottoms, it's still dry. The creeks are dry. A lot of the ditches, there's usually some, I guess they're kind of like ponds, but they're like oxbow, little mini oxbows out in the woods that the river leaves behind when it floods. None of those have water in it. They're all dry. But then I got out to the Wolf River bottoms and there's water everywhere. So on the Mississippi River bottoms, I'm concentrating close to water with a nearby food source. And I want to be close to where they bed. So if you've got all three in the same little area, that's perfect. I don't know what time the deer is going to be moving. That's yet to be seen. But in the Wolf River bottoms, I've got bedding really close. I've got water semi-close to me. And then I've got acorns around, and I'm kind of in a little thick walking, like a travel route. I didn't really scout around. I didn't want to send it up. Generally, I hang my stands, I scope it out, and I see where the deer are moving. If I jump some walking in, jump some walking out, and I kind of get a better feel for where they're traveling, then I'll make a move. But the first time in, I don't want anything disturbed. I want it perfectly natural. I snuck in, hung my set, and snuck out. Didn't send it up. But ultimately, that's what I'm looking at. With any luck, this weekend I'll at least see some deer. Fingers crossed that I actually get a shot. But I'll share that with you hopefully next week after this weekend unfolds. But I'll catch you on the next one next week.